Hurricane Lisa has made landfall in Belize. Hello, I'm Mike Naso with this late night Wednesday, early Thursday video update on the tropics. I wanted to give you an update since Belize is getting battered by Hurricane Lisa, now down to a tropical storm since it's moved inland, but it made landfall as a potent Category 1 hurricane near the mouth of the Sabun River down there in Belize, very close to Belize City. And we will talk about that. We also have Hurricane Martin way up here in the North Atlantic, strengthening, although it might be starting its extratropical transition into a very powerful North Atlantic cyclone. And I'll show you computer models that show we might not be done yet here in the Caribbean or even in the areas of the Bahamas and the southeast U.S. with hurricane season 2022 throughout the month of November. We got a lot to cover. Here's the latest on Tropical Storm Lisa as of 10 p.m. Central Daylight Time from the National Hurricane Center. Lisa downgraded now to a tropical storm. It was at 17.6 north, 89.1 west, and winds are down to 60, so it's still a moderate range tropical storm, but all the hurricane warnings have been discontinued. Still have a tropical storm warning from the Yucatan down to Guatemala because we do have tropical storm winds impacting that area. It's moving west at 12. It should dissipate in the Bay of Campeche and not be a problem for areas there, say Tampico, Brownsville, or even the rest of the North Gulf Coast. You won't have to deal with it because it should spin itself out and dissipate, but still a threat of heavy rainfall and gusty winds, at least over the next 12 hours. There's the satellite. The hurricane is still maintaining a pretty vigorous circulation. Now, I keep calling it a hurricane, now that it's down to a tropical storm. It was cranking at landfall, 85 miles per hour, so it was a mid-range Category 1 hurricane. The environment was good, but it wasn't great, and thankfully it didn't have more time to strengthen because it probably would have become a Category 2 storm. A lot of storm surge has occurred near Belize City. I've seen some of the hurricane chasers on Twitter showing that, and we also have indications of some damage, especially from water. Water can gut out a building just as easily as winds can, and so hopefully those waters will recede, but it's still battering you right now there along the coastline of Belize. There's the radar, and there's the center moving here right on past areas there of San Jose. It moved through Belize City here and continued straight west right now, and those winds will eventually subside, but we still have that onshore flow. Areas like San Pedro here, that island, you guys still need to be battening down the hatches overnight tonight into the morning until you make sure Lisa has moved her way straight on through. The key messages for Tropical Storm Lisa: number 1, heavy rainfall and flash flooding expected across Belize, northern Guatemala, and portions of southeast Mexico during the next day or so. Number 2, water levels are likely to remain elevated in those areas of onshore flow. That's what I just mentioned to you, where you have the winds pushing onshore along the coastline of Belize overnight. And number 3, tropical storm conditions are expected to spread inland over Belize, northern Guatemala, and southern portions of the Yucatan overnight tonight. So again, this was still a hurricane landfall, and even though it's November, down there in the Caribbean, it's still hot tropical air, and Hurricane Lisa definitely is battering Belize tonight. We have another hurricane out there, Hurricane Martin, and Martin, as of 3 a.m. GMT, was at, that's 11 p.m. Eastern Time, by the way. It was at 39.4 north, 44.9 west, winds of 85. So it's the same strength Hurricane Lisa was when that made landfall in Belize. It's moving northeast at 39 miles per hour, and it is expected to continue to strengthen a little bit more into a Category 2 hurricane, at least 100 miles per hour, and then it will transition into a non-tropical cyclone, an extratropical system. And an extratropical system can get very large and spread out, and that's what we're expecting as it does this loop-de-loop here in the North Atlantic. Look at that cone. By Monday, it could be very, very close to areas there of Northern Ireland and Scotland and those Scottish islands there. So you guys need to be very, very careful of high swells and dangerous seas up there as we'll watch Martin transition into an extratropical cyclone. There's the eye of the hurricane. Very impressive, definitely not extratropical yet. It's still a hurricane, but it is starting to expand its wind field, and that will allow it to become non-tropical, but still a very big force to be reckoned with in the North Atlantic. Here's the European ensembles. You see Lisa's gone. Look at this new system that they're showing. Something popping up here out of the Caribbean Sea and looping around towards Florida and the southeast coast sometime in about, say, 180 hours or so. We have a long time to watch it, but the models have been showing this, that something's going to end up pulling across the greater Antilles and bending west into Florida. Now, I don't think it would be a hurricane or anything like that, and if it were, it probably wouldn't be a strong hurricane, but that is still a potential possible landfall there, and so we're going to watch that. That's from the European ensembles, and look, they also show another system here popping up sometime around November 10th or 12th in areas there of the Eastern Caribbean. This Eastern Caribbean has been very, very active this year. Remember, we had Bonnie down there. We had Hurricane Fiona down there. That was the beginnings of Hurricane Ian and Hurricane Julia. And then we also had Carl, and the wave that became Carl started down there. And then, of course, Hurricane Lisa started down there. So this is usually a very unfavorable area, but this has been the genesis point of a lot of systems for the 2022 hurricane season. Now, looking at the GFS, look at this, same thing. It takes a system out of here and then curls it around over Puerto Rico and then back to the west over Florida or the southeast coast because of a building ridge of high pressure. And so that would be something we're going to have to deal with. And then that also shows more low pressures developing there in mid-November in the Eastern Caribbean Sea. So the European and the GFS ensembles are sniffing something out here in the longer range. So even though we are in November now, it is still hurricane season, and as I've mentioned all year long, in La Nina years, we get a lot of late season activity, and so we will wait and see if we get another system, and we'll watch it very, very carefully. There's a beautiful water vapor imagery. You see Hurricane Lisa made landfall in Belize as a Category 1, and we have Hurricane Martin spinning out there in the North Atlantic, transitioning into an extratropical storm soon, and we're going to watch the rest of the tropics as hurricane season 2022 moves on along. I'm Mike Naso with the latest on Hurricanes Lisa and Hurricane Martin. Stay tuned as we continue to watch the tropics.